So here I have the first parkade to come off the assembly line. It's the retail version, the Picade MIDI, and I'm going to show you a box opening and then how to build it. So inside the box there are a few things. We've got the screen mount. We have two toolboxes full of fixtures and fittings. We have the screen. We have the screen's fixtures and fittings. We have the joystick. And we have the main cabinet sections. So if I start by opening these pieces, in here we have the control panel and control panel art all sandwiched together. The marquee with the marquee art sandwiched between these two pieces. The base piece. Both sides. The front piece. The top piece, which doubles as the handle, and the back door so you can get into all the internals of the parkade. We're going to start off by attaching the fixing blocks to these 6 places on the base plate. To do that, we're going to need our base plate MDF, and from our larger toolbox, we're going to need 6 fixing blocks, and we're going to need some M4 nuts and bolts. Now, the variety of nuts and bolts you'll be using in this build are M4, and the main ones are the 16mm M4s, and there are also a few 12mm M4s and 2 20mm M4s. These are all in this bag. So I'm going to pull those out onto the table and quickly sort them into this toolbox. Okay, so we're going to need 6 M4 nuts, and we're going to need 6 M4 16mm bolts. So we're going to attach our fixing blocks. We're just going to screw through a M4 16mm bolt and attach a nut on the inside. And then tighten it up. Now, although the fixing blocks have 2 holes, we're only going to be using 1 to attach these 6 fixing blocks. So I'm going to quickly go around and just attach these other 5. So I've just screwed on my 6 fixing plates for the base. I'm now going to move on to the side pieces. So with the side pieces, each one will need a fixing plate, each one will need a speaker, one will need 2 hinges, and one will need a catch. So I'm going to start with this one that requires the 2 hinges. So I'm going to attach a fixing plate, a fixing block, just there, using the same method of one M4 16mm bolt and one M4 nut. I'm now going to attach my hinges. So in your toolkit, you have a little bag with 2 hinges. So we're going to mount these using the M4 12mm bolts. I'm going to screw them in nice and loosely at first by hand, and then I'm going to go back with the screwdriver and tighten them up. So on the side pieces we also have a speaker. You'll find both your speakers in your second toolkit. Like the hinges, these attach with 2 12mm M4 bolts. Okay, so that's this piece done. I'm going to move on to this other side piece and we'll attach the fixtures to that. So again, we'll need 1 fixing block. I'm going to use the M4 16mm nuts and bolts for that. We'll need the second speaker. And like the previous one, we're going to use 2 M4 12mm bolts and 2 M4 nuts. Okay, so now this piece requires a catch. In your toolbox you have a little catch in a plastic wrapper. Any screws that are in that catch bag, just ignore them. So the catch comes in 2 pieces. One piece is going to go on the door and one piece is going to go on the side cabinet. So I'm going to take the part of the catch that goes on the side piece and we're going to mount it there. Now for this we're going to need the M3 nuts and bolts. You have two sizes of M3 bolt. And for this, we're going to be using the smaller size. So just like before, we're going to screw the bolt in from the outside. And at this point, we're going to leave the catch nice and loose, because its positioning is going to depend on how stiff we want the door. So I'm going to put that to one side, and I'm going to grab the top piece. Now that's the one with the big cutout, which is a handle. On this piece, we're going to attach the last two fixing blocks, again using M4 60mm bolts. But unlike previously, we're going to populate both holes on both fixing blocks. That's just to give it a bit more security, as this piece will be the handle. And there we go, that's the top piece done. So now we're going to assemble this all together and get something that starts to look a bit like the parkade. So I'm going to start off with the base piece, and we're going to attach the front panel, which we've not looked at yet. That's just going to bolt onto the front using two M4 16mm bolts. Now we're going to attach the side pieces. So again, like the front, we're just going to take two M4 16mm bolts and screw into these fixing blocks. And now we're going to attach the other side. Two 16mm M4 bolts and two M4 nuts. And then we're going to attach the top plate, but we're only going to attach it to one side currently, and that will become apparent why later. Now this is one of the most difficult fixing blocks to attach, as both sides have both holes populated. The trick is to get the nut pressed against the cabinet, so when you're screwing through the fixing block, it's almost like it's threaded. Just like that. And we're going to leave this side for later. So to attach the back door, we're just going to use 4 M4 12mm bolts. And we're going to attach to these hinges. While we've got the back door open, we're going to attach the second part of the catch. And that is just going to attach there. Now for this, we're again going to use the smaller M3 bolts. So now you've got something that resembles the Picade. However, we've got no buttons, no wiring inside, no circuit board inside, and no screen. We're going to solve part of that by putting the buttons in, attaching the wires, and putting in the circuit board. After that, we're going to move on to the screen, and then finish up. So I'm going to put this to one side for a moment. And we're going to have a look at our control panel. Now what you've got is a piece of MDF, a artwork piece, and an acrylic piece. We're going to make a little sandwich with these, but first we need to take off the backing on this acrylic piece. Now once you've taken off the backing, be careful of fingerprints and scratches, especially on the inside, because you won't be able to get to them to clean them. So that fits together just like that, with the MDF, then the artwork, then the acrylic. And to pin them all together, we're going to use the joystick. So if I take that out of its bag, and you unscrew the red ball off the top, we can then put that through and use two 16mm M4 bolts to hold it all together. So once those two bolts are on, you can add the joystick cover and then re-screw on the red ball. We're now going to attach the buttons, and these just push through the holes. You can use whatever colours you want, wherever you want, in what order you want, but I'm going to go blue, yellow, red. Feel free to put your black ones on the front, on the control panel, and your coloured ones round the side. So now we're going to wire this up. What we're going to need is our wiring loom from our second toolbox. So if I unpack the wires, you can see we have one rainbowy piece with a long black ground cable. We have 2 purple, grey and white pieces. We have 1 long black cable, which is just a ground cable. And then we have this black, brown, red, orange, yellow cable with the long ground again. Now we're going to start off with this black, brown, red, orange, yellow cable. This is for the joystick and it has the positive connections and all the negative connections daisy chained on this black cable. Now if we have a look at our circuit board for the first time, we can see that all the headers are labelled. Now if we're attaching the joystick, we're going to be using this one here. And you can see we've got ground, left, right, down, up. So the black one is going to be ground, the brown one is going to be left, the red one is going to be right, the orange one is going to be down, and the yellow one is going to be up. Now around your joystick you've got the labels for down, right, left and up. We're just going to follow those, first attaching brown to left. Then we're going to attach the red one to right, then orange one to down, and finally the yellow one to up. Now we're then going to go around with the black cable and just make sure every corner has a ground connection. And that's the joystick wired up. We're now going to do the buttons, and that takes this long rainbow cable. So again, if we look at our circuit board, we can see that we're going to put the buttons in this header here along this side. The ground connection is next to 1, and then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means we're going to put the brown cable into number 1. Red cable into number 2. Orange into 3. Yellow for 4. Green 5. And that leaves blue for 6. Then we're going to run around these connections with the ground cable. It's not too crucial where you put these buttons, as the first thing you're going to do when you turn on your Picade is map all the buttons to where you want them. However, this means that the numbers on the control panel match up with the circuit board. Just make sure each button, both on the joystick and these buttons here, have a positive connection and a ground connection. So that's the control panel wired up. We're now going to put this to one side for a second and bring back our full Picade unit. So we're now going to attach our buttons to the side and front of the Picade. Again, these just push into the slots and clip in. So for these 6 buttons, we have our 2 purple, grey, white cables and our long black one. We're going to wire up one side with one cable and the other with the other. So I'm going to put my purple connection in there, the grey one in there and the white one in there, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay. So now we're going to wire all 6 buttons up with this ground cable. Now, like the buttons on the front control panel, we're just going to daisy chain all these 6 buttons together, starting at this side where the circuit board is. Six. So now that's all our buttons all wired up. We've now just got to connect them to the Picade PCB. So now that we've got all our buttons in the case with the wires in them, we're going to wire them up to the PCB. We're going to keep the PCB out of the case until we've finished putting in the cables, because it's easier to move about and put the cables in from different angles. So you're going to need a small flathead screwdriver for this part. And the first thing is just to loosen all of these little headers. So once they're all loosened, we're going to start by putting in our audio cables. Now these go in this header here, and you can see the red positive and the black negative. So we're just going to push those in and then tighten up the headers to hold them in place. Again, with the other audio connector, we're just going to push in the cables. There we go, that one's gone in nicely. And then we're just going to tighten up the header. So now we're just going to quickly go through the rest of the headers and connect the cables. So here I've got the ground for the utility. I've got the enter, escape and one up. You may need to split these cables slightly, and if you've got nails that's okay, and if you don't, you can either use a knife or some clippers. There we go. So the white one is going to be enter, the grey one is going to be escape, and the purple one is going to be the one up, which is there. On the other side we have the volume up and down, and we also have the quarter. So the white one is volume up and the grey one is volume down. And the purple one is the quarter. There we go. So that's the utility header all done. We've now got the joystick and the buttons, which are on the control panel that we built earlier. So we're going to put the control panel just in front of our case, just like that. And I think we shall do the joystick first. So that's this header here. That's this header here next to the utility. And because we had a bit of forethought, they're all going to go in order. So black, brown, yellow, black, brown, red, orange, yellow. So we're going to put our black one in the ground and tighten it up. Then it's brown, red, orange, yellow. So that's that header done. We've now got the one final one on the other side, which is the buttons for our control panel. Again, they should just fit in nice and easily. Blue, green, yellow, orange, red, brown, black. So we're going to put black in the M1, then brown, then red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So we've just populated this header with the black, brown, red, orange, yellow, green, and blue cables. And that's the final one on this circuit board. So what we're going to do is bolt it into the cabinet. Now for this, we're going to use the M3 longer bolts. And it is a bit tricky. However, you should easily be able to do it. Again, like all the other bolts, we're going to be bolting in from the outside. So we're going to grab our larger M3 bolts and M3 nuts. We're going to change our screwdriver back to a cross head. And we're going to try very carefully to bolt this circuit board into place. So I'm going to start off with one bolt and pop out these top two buttons so that I can get my whole hand in there. So that's one corner bolt in. I'm going to put the opposite corner bolt in. Keep these bolts loose until you have all four in, and then go around and tighten them up. And then I'm going to pop those buttons back in and turn it the correct way up. So now we've totally wired this arcade cabinet up. If I put on this front plate a second, you can see it looks pretty good. If I turn it round, however, you can see that the big missing part is the screen. So the next part is to install this screen, install this top artwork, and then finish up with a few extra fixtures and fittings like the feet. So I'm going to put this to one side for the moment. And we're going to put together the screen. Now this is the 8-inch screen that I've got. Some people have got a kit without the screen, and some people will have got the 12-inch version. For those with the 12-inch screen, this process is pretty similar. If you're providing your own screen, you might want to skip this part. So we've got our back fixing plate, some little feet that will be used for fixing the screen. We've got our front cover, our cardboard edge. We've got our actual screen. And we have a few fixtures and fittings. We've got our front acrylic piece. Then we're going to get our screen shim. Then our screen. Then this back cross to hold it all in. And then our circuit board on the back. And that's your screen array. So let's start off by taking the cover off this sheet of acrylic. Now again, be careful for fingerprints and scratches, as our screen is going to be up against this and you won't be able to get in it to clean it. We've also got some nuts and bolts. So using these nuts and bolts, we're going to attach this piece of card to the screen. Now I'm going to take off the front cover as well. And we're just going to bolt this piece of cardboard to the plastic screen mount. I'm just doing these loosely by hand at the moment, but I will go through and tighten them up with a screwdriver. Now be aware, these are the M4 16mm bolts we're using, not the 12mm, which you also have 2 of in your screen kit. So now that that's done, we can place the screen on, and I'm going to take off this front cover on the screen, because if not it's going to be slightly misty. And I'm going to place it on like that. So the side of your screen where the cable is going to be the bottom. So make sure that side is where you've got this extended piece on the screen mount. We're then going to take the back plastic off this X shape. and we're just going to place it over the screen. We can then put on another set of 4 nuts to hold this in place. Now if we flip it over, we can carefully nudge our screen into the position that we want it. That looks pretty good to me. And then we're going to grab these little rubber feet and put them through the appropriate square holes to hold this in place. And there we go. That shouldn't move in its position. So the next part is to attach the screen driver board, and I do this by opening up this little ribbon catch, putting in the ribbon cable, and then if you stretch out the ribbon cable, you will get the perfect position for your circuit board. If you put the feet through the holes on the circuit board and then take off the sticky pads. And then we've got the perfect position for our circuit board. I've put this on with quite a taut cable. You might want to make it a little bit looser. So that is the screen array pretty much done. So let's bring our cabinet back. And now we're going to insert the screen and put on the top piece of art. So open the back door of your Picade, take off the control panel on the front, and just lie that in front of the Picade. And you remember we didn't screw in one side. That's because if we put in one side of this screen array, there's a little bit of give in the material, which allows us to pop it in like that. Now grab your marquee artwork. I'm going to take off the protective backing on these pieces of acrylic. And then just insert the marquee sandwich into these holes up here. There you go. Now if we put on the control panel, that should stop the two halves from splitting apart. So now this Picade is looking almost finished. Before we do anything else, we're just going to add the 2 nuts and bolts up here so that the Picade does not fall apart. So we'll be using two M4 16mm bolts and 2 M4 nuts. So now, while we've got the cabinet door open, we're going to add the screen button board. And that just attaches here, just underneath the catch. The nuts and bolts for this should have been in your screen mount kit. And we're just going to screw those through. And since that's been connected, we can then plug it into our screen controller board using this long ribbon cable. In your screen kit, there should have also been a red and black cable, and that's for powering your screen from your Pi. You take the 5 volts and ground connections and put them into the GPIO of your Pi, and then this connection goes into the central 2 pins in that header there. Okay, so now what we've got to do is run our cables from our circuit board to where we're going to put our Raspberry Pi. Now for this you're going to need your micro USB and your audio cable. They'll just plug in like so and then be routed to the back of your cabinet where you can plug them into your Raspberry Pi. We can also plug in the HDMI cable to our screen controller board, which will then go to the Raspberry Pi on the back door. We've been given 3 sticky pads and some cable ties to do a bit of wire management inside the case. I'm going to not do that and I'm going to leave that up to you, whatever makes you happiest. But what I am going to do is put on that control panel and using the 2 M420mm bolts, attach it to the rest of the cabinet. So apart from putting the Pi in and wiring that up to the arcade cabinet, the only other thing we have left to do is attach the feet to the bottom. And then finally tighten up the catch to your liking on this side of the arcade cabinet. So that is your arcade cabinet all built and ready to go. The only thing you have to do is add your Raspberry Pi to the back, connect up the USB cable, the audio cable and the HDMI cable, as well as the screen power cable, and you're off playing your retro vintage video games all night long. You can also get the instructions in a readable format, which may be easier for some people, and stay tuned for more videos on how to get the most out of your Picade.